is my little brother, Steven. When he was younger, it was rare to find him not singing or dancing or doing a funny voice. He was exceptionally creative, especially in the art he made. In his art, he used markers, crayons, and clay. In July, before my 7th grade year, suddenly and unexpectedly, he died. My loss isolated me. I felt no one understood my feelings. Even the kids in my support group, who had also suffered loss, had not lost a sibling. In fact, going to a support group made me feel even more alone. I go to individual therapy now, but it took me a few years to find a type of therapy that worked for me. I knew that everyone wanted to help me, but I just didn't know how they could. My life had lost color, texture, and connection to my brother that was a part of my identity. When Steven died, a light in my life went out. I could no longer make sense of the familiar world around me or figure out where to go. Art was what helped my eyes adjust to the darkness and gradually get their vision back. For me, the purpose of art is learning how to see. How you see your world is important because your perception is your reality. By teaching children experiencing loss how to see their world using art, we can make the reality of grief more tolerable. Going back to school on the first day of 7th grade is an experience I will never forget. I was not excited to go back to school, but I knew that the only thing worse than going back would be not going back. My first hour of class was art. I walked in right before the bell to a classroom full of 7th graders. I know now that 7th graders do not have the awareness of how to handle such a situation, but it still stung when everyone stared and nobody spoke to me. I sat alone at a table where I remained for the entire semester. Never have I before or since sat alone for an entire semester. It was, however, in art class where I could channel how I felt. One of our first assignments was to make a drawing with different types of lines. These could be straight lines, squiggly lines, or lines of repeated symbols. Another requirement was that the drawing had to have a focal point. In 7th grade, the focal point of my life was the emptiness I felt from the loss of my brother, and I was afraid of it. I knew that humans tend to make things less scary once they're defined, so I thought I'd try to define my grief. The emptiness I felt was represented by the big, gray, spiky ball in the middle, and it's surrounded by color and pattern and movement. That color and pattern and movement represented the lives of everyone else going on around me, unchanged. This was difficult for me to conceptualize because the emptiness of loss is so encompassing. You can't point at it. It continually tears out all the stitches you try to put in your heart. I came to terms that even if I couldn't define my grief, I knew what it felt like, and that I could represent. Making this drawing helped me heal because I could show myself and my peers what my loss meant to me. Art let me describe what I saw and created what I needed, connection with my peers. The critique process in Mr. Treese's art class involved everyone's work being put up on the wall, and then students would go around saying what they thought about it and how it made them feel. I was not as open about my grief then as I am now, but it was still important to me to let my peers know how I felt. Art did this for me. As I said before, I couldn't say how I felt with words, but I didn't have to. The critique process taught me that the point was not ensuring that everyone in my class could understand me, because nobody really could, but rather that they could accept me and the void that was now a part of me. Art was integral to finally feeling included again. As a 7th grader, I could say I felt sad or mad, but I didn't have the communication skills or emotional vocabulary to describe the nuances of how I really felt. For example, I didn't know how to say that I was happy, but I felt guilty for feeling happy because my best friend and brother had just died. This is a big reason why it's important to teach children who are grieving how to see their world using art and how to express themselves using art. They often don't have the means to communicate how they feel in any other way, and they can't expect their peers to be mind readers. In 8th grade, I was struggling a lot with not knowing where my brother went after he died, where his spirit went. I was raised without religion, so I was raised without strong beliefs about what happens to a person's spirit when they die. In my mind, his spirit found its way from the cold, dark night where he died to a warm and safe place. When given the opportunity to paint a mural in my middle school, this is what I chose to depict. Making this picture was like rewriting or repainting the end of his story. I felt like I was painting him into safety. When others looked at this mural, I could tell that they understood what I was trying to say. That mutual understanding made me feel less distanced from everyone else and less alone. In 10th grade, I made a project with the same idea, except this time I used clay. My ceramics teacher, Mr. Benedict, taught me about the Southeast Asian tradition of making spirit houses. These ceramic houses are designed to be a place for spirits to go after they die. I made one for the spirit of my brother. I believe that art can help any child who has had to deal with death. I was inspired by my brother to make art and, quite frankly, to perform on a stage, but even if the person that you lost never picked up a paintbrush, art can help you heal. You don't have to be artistic to make art. My art is by no means perfect, but it shows that the love I have for my brother is. Art is in everything you do. It's just up to you to see that. Same as any kindness someone shows you after a loss is there, whether or not you realize it at the time. The basic principles and elements of art and design, and of love, are everywhere. Most of all, my loss has taught me that when life blindsides you, you can get back up. There are some things you might never be happy with, and you might never fully heal. The problems you have can control you, ruin you, and suck the life out of you if you let them. But art provides a way to breathe life into your world, even in times of death. Thank you.